I was wearing these earrings the other day and someone said, oh, could you show me how to make them? So I thought I'll do a tutorial on these waterfall chain earrings. And here they are. You can use any beads, gemstone chips, you can use broken bits of chain, you can recycle or upcycle anything you've got for this. So I'm starting off with 0.8 of a millimeter wire, that's 20 gauge. I'm using silver plated copper, and I'm taking my round nose pliers and I'm creating the first circular link at the end of the wire. And then I'm bringing it around the pliers again on the same spot to create a second loop, all in a line. And I'm going to do 3 of these loops, all in a line. You could do 4 or 5 if you really wanted to make big earrings, but 3 for me is plenty. So there's 3 circles in a row. And now I'm placing my pliers within that circle and I'm going to bend the wire up. Can you see? I'm going at a diagonal because I want to create this sort of triangular shape. And then you decide how long you want to make that line, that sort of diagonal line, and then create a loop again and bring it back down to finish off that triangular shape. And now cut it from the spool, leaving just enough to make a little hook. So you just use the tips of your round nose or chain nose pliers to create that hook, and then just push that hook into the last circle on that line and secure it by squeezing it shut. So you just want to make sure there's no, spiky end, and it's secured within that last circle. So you should have a little hanger, and as I say, you can make these with just 2 loops, you can make these with 3. These also work very well for the end of necklaces if you want to do multi-strand necklaces, and you can do these for the 2 sides and then add your clasp to the end. So there we go, the little hanger with 3 links. So if you make 2 of those for earrings, and you can do that with any wire you have to hand, so it be copper or coloured wire or whatever you want, and you can hammer them just make sure you don't hammer the crossed over areas, but just hammer the very, very top of that loop, and then the very, very ends, because otherwise you'll distort your units. So the next thing is to decide on what sort of chains and beads you want to put down the middle and what sort of colorways you want to use. These gold ones, I've gone for a sort of more blue color, but I'm just picking out some random little chips here that I've got to hand, and I'm going to put 3 different chips together for this. Some red jasper, some Dalmatian jasper, and maybe some rock crystal, just to have a sort of quite a earthy look to it. So all you have to do, I'm going to do the middle strand now, and I'm using 0.6 mil wire, and the reason I'm using this wire, I could use 0.8, but it's only because these little chip beads don't fit anything else, and I'm going to make a wrapped loop. So I've made a circle, and then I'm bringing the end around and wrapping it underneath the circle, and I'm sure you're all familiar with a wrap loop already. So this is nothing particularly new. It's just awkward often to hold, and you've got to I find I've got to exchange one hand to another hand to do it. So I'm just going to push my little chip bead right up to that wrap loop, and then create another one on the other side. So I bend a little bit of a right angle, bring it around the tool, and then wrap around just under the base of that link, and it's wrapped around right up to where it hits the bead. Then I cut it off really close, and then just make sure that there's no spiky end, and also make sure that the 2 links are on the same plane. So if you have to twist them round so that they run on the same plane. So what you want to do is connect the next bead that is going to go down in the waterfall chain. And the way you do that without using jump rings is create the loop bit. So I've created the loop, but I've got the wraparound bit still unwrapped. I open it up slightly, feed the last link of the last wrap chip in, or chip bead in, and then I finish off wire wrapping the link. And that way you form this sort of like a rosary linking system. This is also fantastic for making gemstone chip bracelets, for necklaces, anything like that, because you're using a thinner wire than you normally would, and this way the beads or the semi-precious chips cannot come off because they've been wire wrapped. So again, when you get to the other side, you want to make another link. So once again, make a little bend to the right angle so that it comes central to the stone, wire wrap it underneath, and then cut off from the spool. And also you don't waste anything by doing this because you're working from the spool every time. So there's another bead linked in, and then you need, well, I'm going to do one last one because I want them to be quite elegant and long and dangly. So again, make a loop, just cross it over, but don't finish it off yet because you want to feed it in so that it connects. And then you want to finish off the wire wrapping. So hold it where it crosses over. You can use your fingers just to do the first sort of bind, and then use the tips of your chain nose pliers to wrap the wire just underneath that link. And obviously you want to keep it as neat as you want. You don't want masses of wire here, sort of, you know, so that there's a lot of wire wrapping. You just want to keep that as neat as possible. But these links can never open, which is what's so satisfying about wire wrap linking systems. You haven't got jump rings that can open up at any point. Now for the last one, I could make a sort of, you know, just make it a little spiral or something and finish it off there. But I think I'm going to add a tiny bit of chain. So again, I've made that sort of little bit of a loop there, started to wrap it. Then I'm going to feed a little bit of chain at the end. And then I'm going to finish off my last bit of wire wrapping. Obviously, your last bead could have a, you know, it could just finish off with a head pin. You don't have to add another bit of chain like I am. There's so many options to this that, you know, I'm just doing one, and you can play around at your heart's content, because you'll find every time you make it, you can do a different version. So they'll never be quite the same. So that's going to be my middle row. And you could do each row like this, just beads. But I like the idea of the chains because there's so much movement in chains, and I always have leftover bits of chain. So to do the chains, I've got a jump ring, and I've cut, just measured out some, you know, bits of broken chain, and I'm just going to feed 3 different pieces of different lengths onto that one jump ring, and then I'm going to secure that, close the jump ring, secure that on the end of my little hanger, the end link of my hammer. Did I say hammer? I meant hanger. And then I'll do the same obviously for the other side, but the middle one is going to have the beads. So let's just go and do the other side of chains as well. So jump ring, feed on your bits of broken chain, I love projects that are, you know, upcycled, that you can just use your leftovers. I'm a bit like that with food sometimes. I open the fridge and I just see, you know, one carrot, one onion, two mushrooms or something, and then I think, right, ready, steady, cook. What am I going to make out of this? And I like coming up with some new creation. Not saying it always tastes good, but it's more fun. So this is a bit of a, you know, use up those old chains. So now I'm going to use one last jump ring to hang my beaded stones down the center. And we haven't got much left to do. We might put one more bead in, but we'll see about that in a minute. So now you've got your waterfall look, which has so much movement to it when you wear it. So these can go with, you know, they don't have to be as long as this. They can be a little bit shorter if you want. I think I'll just add one more bead into that triangle. So again, thread a bead, create a little head pin by making a hook, squish that hook together so you've doubled up the wire. If you want to make it really, really neat, just get your cutters and cut a little bit off and then neaten it up again. Make sure it's completely closed, and you can just bend it to a right angle so that it's hardly noticeable at the end of the bead, and push the bead right up to there, and that makes the neatest head pin out of wire. And then I'm going to leave enough at the other end to create a circular link that can hang from the top link of my hanger. So there we go, we've got a circular link. Open that up sideways and just thread or connect that in to that top link and close that up and make sure that's secure and there's no gaps. And now we just need, I've got a ready-made earring finding here, but I have got a whole tutorial on making your own ear wires. So, you know, please do have a look at that if you want to make your own. And that's it. So these are my waterfall chain earrings, and just experiment with your own versions. Thank you so much for watching, and please do subscribe. Many thanks.